Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to the Manufacturing Alliance podcast. As always, I'm your host, Tony Demakis with Alliance Specialties in Laser Sales, where we are mold makers that don't build molds. We do all the other things. So everything from polishing to laser welding, hot runner repair, preventative mold maintenance, you name it. And we recently acquired a company called Dynasty Mold Builders. And I know that could make you think that we are now building molds, but we're not. We are continuing to do repair. It just allows us to have a bigger staff, more capabilities, and more services to be able to serve our customer better. So whether you're looking for preventative maintenance or you're looking to repair shutoffs or whatever that looks like, we can help you out. On the other side of things, we are I would say, the only U.S. Laser welding and laser engraving company to build machines here in the United States for the sole purpose of working with tool rooms. Our equipment is made to do the things that you need to do, whether quick, fast, easy, very simple to do. We also have a line of custom machines. So if you have an application that you're trying to figure out how you can use laser welding as opposed to traditional welding, we can help you out with that. And last but not least, we have a sign shop that we're ready to help you out with. So if you need cars wrapped, if you need signage on your building, if you are looking to do anything like that, we have a facility in Macomb, Illinois, where we are the premier sign makers in that area, in down south. So it's a very exciting, very weird thing that I'm sure we'll get into on one of these shows at some point, but not today. What do we have coming up? We have the molding conference coming up first. Sorry, I threw you for a loop there, Vanessa. She thought I was going to go straight for the golf outing, but I didn't, because the molding conference is chronologically first. And so we will be at the mold making conference and the molding conference. It is in Minneapolis. That is August 29th and 30th. We are hoping to have an E210 event there as well. As soon as we have more information, you will know. And we'll put that all out there. But it's a great event put on by Gardner Business Media. I highly, highly recommend it. It is not a trade show. So it's a lot of speakers. It's a lot of learning. It's a lot of educating. But it's also a great time for networking. And that's really my favorite part of the event. Last year, we were out at a NASCAR event. It was like a NASCAR museum. And it was awesome. We got to race fake cars and have food and drink with our friends. So it was not a horrible idea, a horrible thing. I got to spend a lot of time with Richard Evans and Scott Kramer, who will be a guest on the show coming up soon. And so it's a great event, a lot of learning, a lot of opportunity for connection. Next thing is the golf outing. Yes. September 22nd, we are having the iWarriors Alliance golf outing once again. This is an event that you're not going to want to miss. It is filling up fast. Every time I talk to Vanessa, she's telling me that there's more people registering for golf, for whole sponsorships, for whatever that is. And it's not a golf outing for people that just golf. So this is a place where if you've never played golf before, you're going to love it. We don't take ourselves too seriously. We like to have fun, and we like to raise money for the cause that we believe in, and that is taking care of our combat wounded veterans. So every registration, every whole sponsorship, every donation will go towards helping combat wounded veterans. We will be supplying them iPads so that they can work on or recover from PTSD issues, so they can communicate with their loved ones, and just so we can say thank you for their service and for the losses that they've encountered. So if you would like to register, I highly, highly encourage you to register. It is alliancelasersales.com/golf. Sorry, I got distracted in my own thoughts. That happens sometimes with fun voices. But I would love to see you guys there. It is filling up fast. We do highly suggest, or we believe that we will have a full course once again. We have the last 3 years. It's a lot of fun, so we hope to see you there. And last but not least, this is a live show. So if I make a mistake or I suck, it's just live, and that's just what we have to deal with. But the reason that we do this live is so that you can interact with us. So if you're listening to this and you have questions about leadership or employee engagement or any of the kind of topics that we're going to be going over today, don't think about it. Don't hesitate. Don't write a comment or an email later. just do it right now. Send a comment, send a thought, send your opinion, and we'll get to it. We'll start talking about it, and we will shift the conversation to the things that other people want to hear about. Because honestly, that's what we're here for. The Manufacturing Alliance is a show that is dedicated to sharing the ins and outs, the difficulties, the successes, the struggles of American business and manufacturing as we know it. And so this is a show that's made for you, for the listener, for the viewer. And so all the topics we cover are things that we hope you find interesting. And if you do, awesome. Please subscribe to our show, or like or share the show and what we're doing. And if you have any thoughts, feedbacks, ways that I can get better, please tell me, because I am not opposed to a little bit of criticism. It actually is the thing that will make us all better. So let's get on with today. What do you think? Today's guest is somebody that is very well known in the space of leadership. Let's bring in Mike Lee from Los Angeles, California. We've had a lot of people from California, haven't we? Mike, how's it going?
Going well, Tony. Thanks for having me on today.
Yeah, it's good to have you. It's good to have you. And you were right on time. You got the nice, clean space back there. It's you're ready to go.
I'm ready to go, man.
So before we jump into some things, tell people a little bit about who you are. You know, the little, 15, 20-second elevator pitch, and then we'll start sharing some thoughts.
Yeah, so I had a background in basketball, worked with some pretty household names, guys like Joel Embiid, Steph Curry. Had a basketball training company that I built out of my college apartment, and has transitioned into a business built around leadership and high performance after going through a period of pretty major adversity that we might get into today a little bit, and have merged these worlds of sports performance, psychology, leadership, and practices like mindfulness and emotional intelligence to help leaders meet the moment and prepare for what's next in our world of work.
So did you see Steph hit his hole-in-one?
I did not.
Yeah, over the weekend, he hit a hole-in-one. It's the first hole-in-one either on that course or in like the Pro-Am or whatever they were doing. He drained a 165-yard par 3, one hop in the cup.
Wow.
Yeah, and he goes.
Doesn't surprise me.
He goes freaking bananas. He takes off like from the tee box, and he's like sprinting all the way down the fairway, and just like super celebration mode. And it was really cool to watch that moment. It's like the guy can't miss whatever he's doing. The guy can't miss.
A lot of reps.
Yeah, a lot of practice. But whether it's basketball or whatever, it just seems effortless and easy for him to be able to do those things.
Yeah, it does. I think that, obviously he's put in a lot of intentional and effective work on the court, but I think a lot of it comes from the beliefs that he holds. I think, being able to be around him a little bit and observe him a little bit, I think one of his assets that he has that allows him to play at the level that he does is that he doesn't place his identity and his self-worth on the court every time that he's there. It's when he walks off the court, whether he goes 9 for 10 from the 3-point line or 1 for 10 from the 3-point line, he feels the same way about himself.
Right.
And that where he gets his identity from, the totality of his human experience as a father, a husband, an activist, an entrepreneur, allows him to just play with more gratitude, joy, freedom, creativity. And that's what being in the state of flow is all about. And as a leader in the business space, as an athlete, wherever you're at, we're only at our best when we are in the present moment, when we're in that state of flow. And I think his mindsets around I'm more than an athlete allow him to tap into those states.
So let's talk about that a little bit. I'm more than, right? I think that's a huge concept, that idea of being more than what your profession is or whatever that one thing may or may not be, right? What is that one of the things that you try to coach and train?
Yeah, definitely. And it's kind of countercultural when somebody brings you in to talk about high performance and you don't really talk about high performance in a way that's all about KPIs and results and driving profits. I think those are a byproduct of the mindsets, the beliefs, the habits, the rituals that we have, but they're things that ultimately we really don't have control over. We can influence them, but we can't control them. And I think this for me, this really kind of hit home for me when I kind of hit a point where when I first started my basketball business, my goal was to work out Division I college basketball players.
Okay.
I was doing that. And then my goal was to work out overseas pros, and I was doing that. And then it was to work out NBA players, and I was doing that. And it was to work with even guys who played in the Olympic team, played in the NBA finals, that hit game-winning shots in the NCAA tournament. And I realized that when those things happened, yeah, it was great for 5 seconds, 10 seconds, 15 seconds, but then it's, well, now what? And I
Right.
realized that it's not really about the pursuit, it's about the present moment. And it's about being able to drop fully into the present moment. And that's where we are, we get fulfillment from. And obviously there's a balance, right? But I think at the end of the day, we're not really chasing a result, we're chasing a feeling.
Okay.
And
Explain that a little bit more. We're not chasing a result, we're chasing a feeling.
Yeah, I think we live kind of in a culture where we've been conditioned that if I get this, then I'll be happy. Or if I get this, then I'll be fulfilled. If I do this, then I'll be successful. And we don't allow ourselves space for that process and to realize that really, we get what we focus on in the present moment. And so if we think that we're going to be happy when we get these things, whatever that is, that promotion, the relationship, the business acquisition, whatever it is, we're really, setting ourselves up for a life of constantly chasing the external. And the reality is we can find that in little moments, little things throughout the day that are, for most of us, are right front and center for us right now. Obviously, like, I am not in any way, shape, or form mitigating the challenges that people go through, but we get what we focus on, right?
Sure.
If we focus on things that we're grateful for, we'll get more things that we're grateful for. If we focus on what's wrong, we'll get more of the things that are wrong or what's missing. And so I think we have to, we can find what we think we're going to get in the future in the present moment if we choose to decide a different perspective through which we view our life or our businesses.
Well, and I think there's so much to that. I mean, all those ideas and thoughts that you had, like you said, are very countercultural, right? Where your identity is wrapped up in your sexuality or your gender or your skin color or name the thing, and it's all external things that people associate their identity with. And if you look at Steph, right, we're using Steph Curry as an example, somebody you worked with, somebody that has incredible success. And his quote is, "There's more to me than just this jersey I wear, and that's Christ living inside of me." So he's finding his identity in something way bigger than basketball, way bigger than golf, way bigger than being able to make a basket, way bigger than whatever the thing, right? That's not his whole identity. His identity is outside that. So whatever struggle he's going through, whatever's happening around him, it's easier to realize that, my identity is bigger than this moment. My identity is the sum whole of everything that's happening around me, and what the end result is going to be is not this week, this month, this year, but, lifetimes and generations from now when my legacy carries on.
Yeah, it's interesting that you brought that up because I don't really go there a lot in my work or in my, being on podcasts or anything, but in my personal life, this is definitely something that I go to a lot. And I try to reach people where they're at. But since you went there, let's go there for sure. And I think, the truth is that if you went to it, you said he places his identity in something outside of himself. I would phrase that as within myself.
Sure.
And when I say within myself, it's this place that is within my mind that I have an awareness of. And when I say I mean everybody, right?
Right.
We all have access to this. We just block it by our own self-judgment and criticism and a whole list of other things. But where I'm going with this is, and this is 100% the truth, and what you're getting at is, we can say that, what's the popular phrase? It's I'm more than a human doing. I'm a human being, right?
Oh, okay. I like that.
Right. But the truth is this, is like, you know what? On certain days, I'm not going to be a good human being either.
Right.
And if I might try my best, I might have the best intentions, but I'm going to make mistakes. I'm going to screw up. I'm not going to be at my best on this show. I'm not going to be the best friend or husband or father or whatever it is. And there is a place within us that is this unalterable, unshakable thing that does not shift or change. And if we can place our identity in that and know that that is ultimately our truth, right? We are not a human being having a spiritual experience. We are a spiritual being having a human experience. And when we can place our identity in that, it just creates so much freedom to actually be at our best in this realm of reality.
Sure.
So I don't know how much further you want me to go down that road, but
I mean, these are honestly parts of the conversation that I love most, because I think it's essential, right? I think depending on what your worldview is and how you view people and the things around you is how you're going to live, react, and respond as a leader or as a follower or as a boss or as an employee or as a father or as a husband or whatever that is. So it's very difficult to say, like, use this person as an example if you are way off on the other stratosphere of space and time on their worldview. And so, it's good to understand where people are coming from when they're saying these things, right? So even, just going through some of the bullet points, and we'll jump around, but I think it's all encompassed in that same idea of identity and purpose and all of those kinds of things, whether it's, like I said, you're in the management role or you're on the floor or you're, in design or you're and wherever that is, it has to go to the core. I was talking to Marion Wells before, and we were talking about, training or having mentorship programs and what that looks like on the workspace floor. And, I try to say you have to make sure that you have to coach people on how to be a better human first, right? And what that looks like. And to your point, we are all going to mess up, make mistakes, suck on given days, be better on other days. But we have to be able to have that emotional intelligence to look at it, recognize it, and say, okay, I need to be better.
Yeah, no question about it. And I think one of the things that helps me personally stay in that space is reinforcing the belief that I don't have to be perfect to make an impact.
Yeah.
And it's helped me so much, because I think the drive that gets a lot of people to the top and the standards that they hold for themselves and the pressure that they put on themselves to get them to the top is also the pressure and standards that crumble them at a certain point. And I think being able to live in this balance, I think the San Antonio Spurs used to have a philosophy that we just want to be at 80%. If we can be really good 80% of the time, then we're going to, if we're at 80% in the NBA, you're winning 60 plus games a year, you're
Sure.
going into the playoffs, right? If I can be good 80% of the time, that 80% rule, that's a really good barometer to use to evaluate where you're at.
Yeah, because 100%, I mean, that's just unattainable. Perfection is just impossible. It's a false sense of ability. And I think, like you're saying, a lot of those pressures that we feel about being great or having, setting all these goals and doing all these things, it's a lot of internal expectations, not external expectations. So, if we're honest as leaders, we can recognize that we also have off days and are not at our best. So we can't expect everybody around us to be at their best 100% of their days also.
Yeah, and that's such a super important point, because I think if we don't allow that for ourselves, we'll never allow it for our people.
Right.
I was reading some research from Deloitte that said 30%, only 30% of managers, or only 30% of employees believe that their manager cares about their well-being.
Isn't that sad?
It's sad, but the interesting other stat in it was people only believe that 30% of their managers model behaviors that reflect well-being. They model healthy behaviors. So that means only 30% of them actually value it for themselves. So of course they're not going to value it for their people.
Sure. Why do you think that is that people, why do you think it is that employees feel that their managers are not concerned about their well-being? Is it, what is it that you think that comes from?
There's a lot of things. I think there are definitely real factors, like people just being overloaded with their work.
Sure.
They're stressed out, right?
Sure.
And if they can't create the own space for themselves to deal with their own stress, they're never going to be able to do it for somebody else. And so I think there's a real aspect there where it's part of it is that people are just so overwhelmed that they can't think outside of themselves. I know I've been in that place myself. It's I just have so much going on. I'm so stressed out that I can't show up for other people in a way that I would like to. And so I think that's definitely an aspect of it. I think another big aspect of it is that people do not have the awareness to be able to read what other people are going through. Just simply having a conversation with somebody. I think, self-awareness leads to social awareness. And what I mean by that is when I can be self-aware of what I'm experiencing, I can now be aware of what other people are experiencing in front of me. Right. And so that self-awareness leads to social awareness, and that social awareness leads to being able to manage that relationship in a way that's healthier. And so it all starts with being able to be self-aware of yourself, be able to manage yourself, your own internal emotional state, and then you'll become more aware of what is going on for other people. There are a few other things. I mean, I think obviously some companies can't do this, but I think why not just hire one more role and be able to create more space for these leaders to be able to do this for their people. Some of these companies, are making billions of dollars a year, and they won't spend $100,000, $120,000, whatever it is, to give one of these leaders more space so that they can take, if you're managing 10 people, right, within a division, within your organization, there's no reason that you shouldn't, part of your daily, your weekly list should be checking in with each person for at least 15 minutes on a one-to-one basis.
Sure.
There's no reason why not. That's 2.5 hours out of your week, right? And that goes a long way. I think that's a big thing, but there's a lot of stuff. I mean, it comes from the top down where leaders are operating from a paradigm of profits and KPIs, and that gets pushed down to, gets pushed down to directors and managers, and then that's the only thing that they focus on, and don't operate from the belief that if we just take care of our people and give them purpose, we give them autonomy, we give them ownership in their work, all these things are going to take care of themselves. And I think it's a complex issue.
It really is. And one of the struggles that I have in the leadership position that I'm in is the limitations that can be put on the leader by, let's say, the human resources department or whatever. Like, there's certain questions you can and cannot ask, or else you get in trouble. Somebody isn't at work, you have to phrase it in different ways to ask if everything is okay, because they don't need to tell you. And sometimes you're not supposed to ask, because then they feel uncomfortable that you're asking about their personal lives that they don't want to share about you. And so I can see that if you were a leader that's been burned in the past, maybe you went through a lawsuit or whatever, it's not that you don't care, you just don't know how to ask. And I feel like sometimes the laws have gotten in the way of being able to care for other people in a way that is real and true. So I have to ask. Now I ask in like roundabout questions, like, I'm sorry that you're not here. I hope everything is okay. And just like float it out and see what the response is, and hope that something positive comes back, or somebody's just not like, it's fine. Because then the conversation's cut off. And as much as I care as a leader, maybe I'm not showing it because they're asking why I'm not asking, but I can't ask why I'm not asking. Does that make sense?
Yeah, 100%. I definitely think that's a real issue as well. I mean, I don't. This is not, and the HR aspect and the legal aspect.
Yeah, of course,
not an area of my expertise, but I definitely, with certain things that have happened in our political and social environments, I think it's tricky. I mean, there's one thing that's been an area of interest of mine for a long time, and that is, I don't know if you know this, the research around Steve Nash when he was NBA MVP 2005, 2006, I think, in back-to-back years.
Okay.
He was voted the NBA MVP, and he was also voted. I think I don't know the exact background on it, but I'm pretty sure it's an internal thing with the NBA. I heard this through a friend of mine who used to be assistant coach for the Milwaukee Bucks, and he was voted the best teammate in the NBA on those years. And so what somebody did at I think at Cal Berkeley, I'm pretty sure somebody at Cal Berkeley, like a student manager, went through all of the clips from these seasons. And what he did is he counted how many touches that Steve Nash got with his teammates in these 2 years. And by touches, I mean high fives, fist bumps,
sure,
right? Slapping a guy in his butt when he makes a great play, like whatever it is.
Yep.
Right. They tracked all these touches. And so what he found is that Steve Nash during these years, and probably all the other years, averaged 256 touches per game.
Wow.
During these years, right? And there is there's a lot of science behind like non-sexual physical touch, right? Where what chemicals are released when you get a hug from somebody, the oxytocin and the bonding and
right,
different chemicals that are released, and just simple other things that are released. There is a transfer of energy between people when there's a physical touch, right? And it is super, super, super powerful.
Yes.
But how are you going to bring that into a corporate space?
There's ways, right? I think you can do a lot of the things that Steve Nash was doing. You definitely can't slap somebody's butt. So if you're listening, don't try that one. But high fives, fist bumps, you can do all of those things. You can walk up, pat somebody on the shoulder, say good job. You can do those things. And I think it is very infectious. High fives, you give somebody a high five and they smile normally. We've got one guy, I told him, I said, listen, I'm so happy right now, I want to hug you. And he just looked at me and said, I don't like that. So that's a half a touch.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
intention
Yeah.
was there, but I think a lot of those things apply, and I would agree that there is a lack of the attaboy and encouragement, or attagirl, nice job, comments, compliments, encouragement, and probably in a lot of situations, an emphasis on how do we get you to improve. So just focusing, just like the news. I mean, most people focus on the negative instead of the positive.
Yeah. Yeah. No question about it. And I think that comes back to some of the things you were talking about earlier, but the really just investing in this relationship first. Like, I think as a leader, there's you know, creating an environment of vulnerability leads to a lot of these things. It
Yes.
leads to trust. It leads to connection. It leads to being able to receive support when you need it. And I think that is definitely a top down thing, right? But when you're talking about developing relationships with somebody, I think, like you brought up the example of the person, not you care about them, right? And I'm just using it as an example. I have no idea the context. I'm sure
No,
you
go.
these things, right? But if you're a leader that is having trouble getting people to open up when you actually care about them, the one of the first things that we need to do as leaders is to go first, to
Right.
be vulnerable first. And our own vulnerability makes other people feel safe enough. And that safety and vulnerability creates connection and trust. And that connection and trust develops and strengthens those relationships that I think we all crave, that create that sense of belonging in a world where we all feel so isolated and lonely.
Well, in reality, we're created to be communal beings, right? We're created to have community. We're not created for isolation and a solo lifestyle, which is why we can't just pop babies out like we're gremlins. You don't get wet and babies pop out. You have to have a partner. You have to have a person to be able to do those things with. We need to have people around us for optimal success. We need to be able to talk through issues. We need to be able to problem solve with other people and have those interactions and conversations with people. So what are some of the ways that you work to encourage or get people to activate those personal, purpose-driven employee engagements?
Well, I think the first thing is you as a leader have to understand what your purpose is in the first place.
Sure.
Because if you're not modeling that, it's going to be really difficult to be able to get other people to buy into that methodology or philosophy. And so one of the exercises that I take leaders through is a legacy exercise. And essentially they're writing out, it depends on the audience I'm working with. It's either a eulogy or a legacy exercise where you are writing out your eulogy as if you were giving your own eulogy at your funeral.
Okay.
What do you want people to say about you when you're gone? Right. And I think, we lots of times we tend to think about, bring this back to purpose, but lots of times we get to be 55, 60 years old, and then we start thinking about our legacy. But the truth is you should be thinking about your legacy when you're 25 years old. Yeah. Because what it does is it creates intention and purpose around every single thing that you do in this moment, right? Your legacy is not about what you get or you leave 25, 30 years from now. It's about what you are creating in this moment. And in order to have that, you have to understand what your purpose is. You have to understand what the values that you understand the values that you live by and you operate by. And it creates a roadmap, right? And so I think as a leader, getting crystal clear on that, what's the legacy that I want to leave behind? And then how am I in an actionable way going to live that out every single day is first.
Yeah.
I think the second thing is really, it goes back to what I was talking about before with the 15-minute meetings. Really getting to know people beyond their workspace, really understanding what drives them, what's their vision for their life, what do they want, what why are they doing the job that they're doing, right? And then being able to take that and connect that to their work.
Sure.
Right? An example is from the book, I believe it's The Heart of Business.
Okay.
Hubert Joly wrote it. He's a guy who basically he led Best Buy's turnaround like in the 2010s when everybody thought they were going to go out of business.
They should hire him again.
What's that?
They should hire him again.
Yeah, I think he left in like 2020, 2019. I don't know. He wrote this book.
Have you been in a Best Buy lately? It's dismal.
Yeah.
It's awful.
Yeah, I have not. So
go ahead.
Yeah. What's that?
I said, go ahead. I want to hear what he did that they lost.
Yeah, so he just shares a story about they really placed an emphasis on their managers and creating space to get to know their people, like the floor level employees. And this is a super simple, practical example, but one of the managers was working with one of their, I think they call them their blue shirts that are on the front line, right? And he just sat down and asked them, what's your dream? And this woman's dream was, I just want to have my own apartment. So they sat down and they figured out, all right, what role do you have to get in order to be able to receive a promotion and earn a salary that's going to allow you to get your own apartment. And they just reverse engineered all the skills and the things that she would need to learn in order to get this promotion. And he stayed with her, every step of the way to help her get to this promotion. It was just a simple, super practical thing that people can use. Like, just figure out what your people want, figure out how to use their role at the company to make that come to life. And that's going to definitely drive people's engagement and help them feel more fulfilled and help them connect a purpose to their work. It's like I think we are living in a world where, especially millennial Gen Z, like they want purpose and meaning in their work. They want their jobs to really mean something. It's going to be increasingly more difficult to get somebody from that generation to take a job making $50,000, $60,000, $70,000, $80,000 a year when they can figure out how to do that running an Amazon store or whatever it is, right? There's got to be something compelling about why they are going to work for you. Otherwise, companies they're going to lose, right? They will lose. They're going to go out of business. Not next year, not in a couple of years, but long term, 5-10 years from now, they're going to lose. And it's even going to be more with the generation below them. So I think the key is, when you are working in an industry we're not curing cancer or we're not feeding the hungry or whatever, have some huge social cause, it really comes down to one of the things that it comes down to is the managers really carving out time and figuring out what their people want personally and professionally, and then being able to use their role at the company to be able to make those things come to life. And I think that's a big thing.
I think there's a couple things there, right? I love that concept of asking somebody what their dream is and then helping them accomplish it. But what I really like is that the solution wasn't, here's the money to go get an apartment, right? What's your dream? To have my own apartment. Okay, we'll give you the down payment. Let's do this, right? The solution was, how do we give you the tools so that you can find success? And it's not a handout. It's not just giving you that thing that you want. It's allowing you to go after it and earn it and learn the tools to be able to do those things and have success and earn the success, not just be given the success, so that it has more value to the individual because they've accomplished something that they didn't know that they could accomplish, but they wanted to accomplish.
Yeah, no question about it. And that, we talk about creating, engagement levels are at a global all-time low, right? How do you drive more engagement? Well, give people autonomy to own something, and they're going to attach more meaning to it because they have autonomy to create it, and that's going to 100% increase engagement.
You would hope so, right? And I think you have to. Your purpose outside of work has to be your purpose inside of work too, right? So what I mean by that is my sole purpose of running and owning a company can't be just to make more money. It can't be just to uh, have the best laser welder in the U.S. market. It can't be my sole purpose because, to your point, once you accomplish that, you hit that. Now what? Now you have no purpose left. You have to continue to change your purpose. And I mean, I don't think your purpose ever changes, right? A fork is always, I mean, the purpose of a fork is to eat with it. Whatever else you do with it is fine. You've accomplished it. It's never going to be like, I don't know, something bigger. That's probably a terrible example. But, when I look at, I used to do triathlon races, and I worked with a nutrition company, and I did a bunch of half Ironman races and training and everything. And I was going to do an Ironman race, and I was training for it and putting in full time at work, and then doing 50 hours of training on the side. And I told my brother that I was done. I'm not going to do it. I'm going to quit for a number of reasons. And he said, "You can't do that. That's your thing. Like, that's who you are. You're the Ironman guy. You're the triathlon guy." And it hit me like a ton of bricks. And I thought, oh my gosh, that's not who I am. Like, is that the appearance that I'm giving off to everybody? That's the biggest thing about who I am in my life? That's my number one concern, that without that, I'm lost. And I thought, I need to reevaluate the way I'm living and the things that I'm putting priority in, and what my purpose actually is. Here I am. I'm a husband. I'm a father. I'm a friend. I'm a believer. I help in our church. I do all these other things, but the thing I was identified with, the thing that everybody thought my purpose was getting like 1 minute faster in a race. And I realized that, man, I'm missing the boat. I need to reevaluate. I need to go back and see what is really my purpose. So even at work, right? If my purpose is to imitate Christ and let people see that in me and the way that I live, then I have to focus on more things than just the bottom line at work. I have to be able to help people get through the situations that they're going through, or help them to find success, and love them in those times where they're frustrated or hurt or angry or just disappointed, even if I am too. But I have to stop looking at my emotions and focus on other people. And I think in order to do that, again, it goes back to your worldview. Are you a purpose-driven person? Do you have that within yourself to actually care about people in that way? Because you can also tell when somebody's faking it, right? They could read your book, or they can hear you speak, and they could go, "Oh, I am supposed to ask people what their dream is. I am supposed to give people a high five. I am supposed to do these things." But if it's not authentic to them, it kind of just becomes condescending. Would you agree?
Yeah, I do. And I also think that, some of this stuff is not for everybody, right? It just inherently is not who they are, right?
Right.
There's certain people who are not giving high fives at the office or whatever it is. And I totally agree with you from that standpoint. And I think the fundamental thing with it is that if we don't learn to take care of ourselves, we're not going to be able to think about it for other people.
What do you mean by take care of yourselves?
What's
Ourselves.
that?
What do you mean by take care of ourselves?
Physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually.
Okay.
I think I believe that our inherent natural state is one of love, joy, gratitude, creativity, service, right? That
Sure.
is
Yeah.
our natural state, that we all have. And it gets blocked by so much self-criticism, judgment, cultural conditioning, all these things. And that blocks us from operating in those states. It's not something that we have to become. We don't have to become more loving. We don't have to become more creative, whatever it is. We don't have to become more service oriented. We don't have to become more self-aware of what other are aware of what other people are going through. We just have to remove the blocks to the awareness of it. And that is through, the self-judgment, the criticism, the self, as far to even go as far as self-hatred. There's been times in my life where I feel like I have hated myself.
Yep.
And I thought that was what was driving me. But the truth is that these are all things that are just blocking our inherent state. And I do believe our inherent state is to care for others, is to take care of others, but we can't do that unless we feel whole within ourselves first, to a certain level.
Well, and I think there's a lot of noise, right? I think that's what you're talking about. There's noise that clouds all around us that is telling us, you should be better at this. Look how good this person is. Look how great this is. You should do this. You should do that. And it's really easy to beat yourself up and compare yourself to what somebody else is doing, whether that's the joys of social media, which we love here. I mean, we post a lot of stuff, but it's very easy to find yourself on the other side of comparison with the people around you, even the people at work. Why am I not as fast as so-and-so at doing this thing? I must suck at it. I'm terrible at it. And then if you have a manager that says, why aren't you as fast as this person? You should be better at it by now. You can reinforce that negative behavior. But I think sometimes we also need that performance to improve, right? So if you have somebody that you're trying to bring along and maybe they're not seeing the success rate that they should be, they're not growing in their role as quickly as they should be. What would you recommend? How do you bring them? How do you ask more of them while still caring for them, while not wanting to have them leave your organization because they're a good person, they fit your core values, but maybe they just don't have the skill sets? Then what?
Well, I think it goes back to some of the stuff that we talked about before, and that's really investing in that relationship first. I think it's a little different in the corporate space, but I share a short story with you. I had a kid that was on the first basketball team that I ever coached, and it was a 7th grade kid. He was 13 years old, and he had a ton of talent. He was long, he was athletic, shoot a little bit, had a good feel for the game, like basketball IQ. But I just couldn't get him to go hard enough in practice. I couldn't get him to go hard enough in workouts.
Yep.
And so we sat down. It was our individual player meetings. It was the middle of the season. And I sat down and I just asked him, why are you here, Paul? What are you trying to get out of this experience? And he looked at me and he said, I want to be a Division I college basketball player. I want to play D1 basketball. And I said to him, okay, Paul, then from here on out, I'm going to start treating you as if you are a Division I college basketball player. And I'm going to hold you to the standards of excellence that it's going to take for these dreams to come to life. And so this is not me being hard on you. This is not me being against you. This is me holding you to the standards that I know that is needed in order for you to be a Division I player. And in that second, when I connected me challenging him and being hard on him with his dreams, everything changed. It changed in a second. And so I think, and so the end of the story is Paul went on to play Division I college basketball. He played in 3 NCAA tournaments, had a game-winning shot in the NCAA tournament, and he's now an assistant coach for the Atlanta Hawks.
That's awesome.
So the point of the story is, I think we inherently want to be great at something.
Sure.
all these other things that it's the self-doubt and criticism and listening to all this outside noise that prevents us from asking for what we really want, from going after what we really want. And then there's a lot of factors that go into that. The other part of it is we have to model the way. We have to show what the blueprint actually is, right? And so in the basketball court, on the basketball court, you got to get out there and you have to model the way. You
Sure.
have to show the way, right? You have to lead by example, right? What Kevin Eastman, he's actually now in this space, in the coaching and leadership space, but he used to be with the Celtics and the Clippers and did a ton of work with Nike basketball. He said, one of the things he said is players love coaches who get on the floor and sweat with them. They're not just a talking head.
Sure.
Right? And so you got to be in the trenches with them. Right. And so going back to your question around the performance aspect of it is, I think it goes back to you. Like, am I actually modeling the things that I'm asking this person to do? Am I actually doing it?
Sure.
I can say that I'm doing it and I know what it looks like to do it, but am I actually doing it? Right?
Well, how many kids have you had though that, like, Paul is a great example. That's a success story.
Yeah.
How many people, how many Steves or Joes or Bobs or Bills or Franks or whatever name, you had that same meeting and they said, I want to be a Division I college athlete. I want to hit the game-winning shot. How many of them do you have to look at and go, ain't going to happen?
A lot, tons of them.
So that's my question, right? In the workspace, how do you take the guy that is not Paul, and that same story, like Paul had the skill, you knew he had the skill, right? But you have the other guy that is not performing up to Paul. And you can he can say he wants to do it. He can speak all the right words, right? You can hear all the things from him, but it's up to you now, right? Like, it's out of my hands. So at what point do you not give up? That's a hard word. At what point do you realize that athlete, that employee, that person is not being honest maybe with the dreams or the goals that they have for themselves, and it's just not going to work? And then how do you take what's that step, right? It's easy to talk about the success story. How do you handle the less successful, and what's the success that comes out of that?
Yeah, so a couple things. First thing is, I think you got to decide what you're going to tolerate and what you don't tolerate, and that's individual as a leader.
Okay.
Right. As a business, you have to make those decisions for yourself. The other thing that I would say is, one mistake that I saw over and over and over and over and over again when I was in the basketball world was, I'd have all these parents that would say exactly what you said. You said, well, he tells me that he likes going to practice, and he tells me that he likes coming to your gym to work out with you. And what I would tell parents is we left a lot of money on the table because we would tell people, like, it's just not a fit. Right. But where I'm going with that is that what I would tell parents is, I would say, you got to pay more attention. Pay attention to what your kid actually loves, and not pay attention to what he tells you that he loves. And then support him in that, because he'll never be great at something that he doesn't love. The only chance that he has to be great at something is if you support him in something that he loves. Maybe that's music or dance or art or science, whatever it is. I don't care what it is, right? But you got to pay attention to the signs. You got to have the awareness to look at what they are actually doing, not filtering it through your own lens of what you want them to do. And so in the workspace, I think, there's a couple options. I mean, I think one thing is you really figure out what they do enjoy doing and find a role that fulfills that purpose. And maybe it's not letting them go. Maybe that's giving them autonomy to do something else that in a way supports the business. Right. Sure. I think that's one thing that leaders can do is it's not a hard line. Sometimes it is. Sometimes it 100% is. It's not a fit. You got to go.
Right.
Right. But sometimes it's, how do I get creative? Like you said, this person, they share values with the company. They're a good human being. Right. And so if you have shared values and you're a good human being and you're putting in the work, right, that probably means that if you find something that's more in alignment for that person, they're going to be able to provide more value
Sure.
than to the organization. And when they are in alignment with something where they're providing more value, they're also going to find more fulfillment. They're going to be more engaged. It's just going to be better for everybody, for you, for them, for the organization as a whole, and the culture. So I don't know if that answers your question or not. I don't think it's a simple, hard line answer, but I think I think a lot of it comes down to awareness as a leader.
Sure. Sure. And I think to your point, there's times where individuals just don't fit. They don't gel. You could have the greatest coach in the world and the greatest organization in the world. If you got somebody that's not putting in the work or doing the things or finding the expectations, there's times where people have to go. And that's just a reality of business also.
Yeah. I think also looking at it from a bigger perspective, right? When we go back to legacy as a leader, your legacy is not just about what you do in that organization. It's about all the lives that you touch in the organization, outside the organization, the people that leave and that are there for a year and they leave, and 10 years later, like, what's the impact that you made on them, right?
Sure.
And so I think there's a lot of power in being able to tell people the truth, right? And because the truth is that if they're a good human being, they have good values, right? There probably is a space where they fit better, where they are going to find more fulfillment in their work, and that fulfillment, everything is going to drive results, and they're going to level up their performance productivity. And so the truth is that you telling them the truth and letting them go might be the best thing that ever happened to them.
It's true.
And so holding that bigger belief and looking outside of the organization and operating from a place of trust. I mean, I think some of the greatest things that have happened to me in my life are things that I didn't get because I wasn't ready for it.
Mm-hmm.
And it was something that I thought that was best for me, but the truth is it wasn't. And so I think looking at it from a higher perspective, not just they're not doing their role and looking at it in that container, is to look at the totality of it from whatever that means to you, but looking outside of the organization, looking at the totality of that person's life and looking at it from that container. I mean, you look at it, the parenting analogy, right? You can look at it from that lens, right? You have a teenager, right? And they think, of course, they know exactly what they want, and they think this is the best thing for them. And that decision that they're making is a disaster, right? You can kind of look at it through that lens, and not that what is best for that individual employee, but looking at it from the lens that this is not working and just opening it up to possibility.
Well, and I think there's a reality to it too, right? Of when you mention parenting, I think as a leader, whatever organization that is, your goal, your role as a leader is to improve the lives of people, to make people better, right? And lying to them and saying everything is going to be nice and rosy and cozy is not necessarily making people better. And sometimes people need to hear, all times people need to hear the truth with love and grace, right? Truth and love and grace. You got to have all of it together. You can't just have truth and pound on people without having a little bit of grace. And you can't just have grace, because then you have no truth and there's no growth there at all. And I used to tell my son all the time, my job as your father is not to be your friend. My job is not to give you everything you want. My job is not to make your life super easy. My job is to make sure that at the end of the day, you are not a worthless, good for nothing human being, that you have value in this world, that you have purpose in this value, that you know your real identity, that you feel comfortable in those spaces, and just to make sure that you are a decent human being. That's my job. That's my role. That's what I'm supposed to do. And I think as leaders, we need to realize that the people underneath our care need that same thing. We need to help people become better versions of people, in whatever growth that looks like. It could be, it's never just about making the widgets or welding parts or, whatever it is. It's helping that person to what we're talking about, figure out who they are, what their purpose is, and then living that purpose through what it is. We had a guy that worked for us for a little while, and he was working in our hot runner manifold repair department. He said, Tony, I got to tell you, this isn't for me. I want to go open a coffee shop. And I said, okay, do you know anything about coffee shops? He said, no, I know I like to drink coffee. Said, okay, cool. What is it about a coffee shop and running a coffee shop that is what you want to do? Is it talking to people? Is it getting to know people? Is it serving people? Is it what is that thing? Because that thing that you're looking for in opening a coffee shop is the thing that you can do in whatever profession you have. You just have to tap into it. You have to realize what you actually want to do with your life and then figure out how to get there. And part of it is that honesty, right? We'll go back to Paul. Paul was he was honest with you and told you what he wanted to do, what success was going to look like for him. We were just on a mission trip in New Orleans, and my son, he's a high school track athlete, and he's recovering now, but he had stress fractures in both shins from just overuse, and he was very dedicated and diligent and worked way too hard. And so we were on this mission trip, and he had air casts on both legs. And his role was game time and sports with all the kids. And so we get to the end of the week, and he was feeling like really down, really depressed. And I was asking him, I said, what's wrong? What's happening? And he said, everybody here, a lot of the people here got what they needed this trip. They got what they wanted. And I said, okay, what did you want? And he said, well, I want my legs to be better. And I said, is that really what you wanted? Like, really, is that you came from Illinois to New Orleans to work all week because you wanted your legs to be better? Is that really what you wanted? I said, why did you come here? And he said, because I want to serve, and I want to do this for God. I want to serve. And I said, okay, so that's what you wanted. If you wanted your legs to be better, you would have stayed home and laid on the couch, because that's what's going to help your legs. But what you did is what you wanted to do, and it's what your purpose was, not just being a runner. So you went beyond this immediate want of, I want my legs to feel better, to what do I really, really, really want? Like, you have to dig in deeper than that to figure it out. And I think we have to do that. We have to challenge people and each other and ourselves to realize, what is it that we really want? What is our ultimate goal? What is the thing? It's not widgets. It's not money. What's the thing?
Yeah, no question about it. I think the one thing that I've learned is that the answer is never the answer.
No.
So
no.
I had one thing that I just thought of when we were talking about the communication with employees and all that I wanted to share. And I think it's a very simple framework that can help people, obviously on the show that are in leadership positions, dealing with exactly what we're talking about.
Sure.
And it's called SET communication. I don't know if you're familiar with it or not.
No. What is SET communication?
Super simple framework. The S stands for support. The E stands for empathy, and the T stands for truth. So whenever you're having to have difficult conversations with somebody, you start out with, I'm here for you. I'm here to support you. I want to help you through this. I want to make this work. The support aspect of it. The empathy aspect of it is, I can't even imagine how hard this is for you, or whatever it is. Put it in context of whatever the conversation is. And then the truth part is, but the truth is this, and then you're able to deliver the truth when they know that they're supported. You are with them in this. You're not against them.
Yep.
You show some empathy for them,
Yep.
for whatever they're going through, and then deliver the truth, and you can get into the details of the conversation. But I found that very helpful in different aspects of my journey here.
No, I love that. I think that's a huge takeaway for me. That's something I'm going to start using today.
Yeah. It's simple, it's simple, but I think it hits on it. Really, it's about how do we want people to communicate with us,
Right.
And I think that's it's a framework to use that's really simple.
No, it's great. Okay, so we are past an hour because I just love talking to you. I mean, to me, it's been a good conversation. I hope you enjoy it. But we always end all of our shows with a prayer. Do you have any prayer requests today?
Prayer requests. Whew.
You didn't expect that one today, did you?
I did not.
And that always surprises me. It just means that people don't watch this at all before they come on.
As a like for a specific person,
whatever you want. I don't tell people how to pray.
I do have one, and it is for anybody who, I know that in the beginning you talked about some of your cause outside your business with supporting vets with PTSD. My ask is anybody who is dealing with the horrific challenges of dealing with trauma, childhood trauma, big T trauma, little T trauma, anybody who is dealing with trauma, that's my ask.
You got it. All right. Let's pray. Heavenly Father, thank you for this opportunity to talk with Mike. Thank you for his willingness to share, for his willingness to coach, for his willingness to help others find their purpose. And my prayer is that their purpose would fall on you, and that the people that are listening to this or watching this or will ever hear it will know that whatever it is that they're going through, whatever trauma it is, whatever difficulty or struggle, they can know that they're not alone, that they have a Father who loves them and cares about them and is willing to do anything for them, that's willing to sacrifice his own life for theirs, and that they could find comfort in that and know that they're not alone. And that it wouldn't be invisible love, that it would be love from the people around them, whether that's their family, their friends, their employers, the employees, whatever that is, that they would feel your comfort. And so we just ask that you would bless us and bless Mike and the things that he's doing and the people that are listening. And we just pray that that you would receive glory through this conversation. And we do it for you. And it's in Jesus' name. Mike, thank you. It was a pleasure getting to know you and talk with you for a little bit. Like I said, I hope you enjoyed the conversation. I did. I think it's maybe a little bit different than you're used to.
Little deeper, yeah.
Yeah.
Which is, I'm all for.
I think you can do so many surface things, but then there are surface things. I think you got to get to the root. Like you said, it's the want beneath the want. It's the thing that people should talk about, that maybe we don't talk about, that we should talk about, because it's the thing that matters most. And, it's people. People matter. Our youth group says love God and love people. You can't do one without the other. And that's part of our focus. So thank you for being willing to share and be open and join us today. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me on, Tony. It was awesome.
All right. Have a good one, my friend.
All right, you too.
Well, that was Mike Lee. He is a coach. He will help you and guide you and help you to make your business better, and not just your business, but you, right? That's what we're talking about, is finding your purpose so that you can help others find their purpose, so that your business can find its purpose, and that you can all make a difference together. And isn't that really what we want to do? We want to make a difference. We want to make an impact on the people around us. And we can only do that when we're working together. So if you would like to tell your story, you want to be part of the Manufacturing Alliance, you want to share your thoughts, you want to carry on a conversation, you want to dig in deeper, let us know your purpose, that would be amazing. We are looking for more shows. We're filling more shows. And in order to do that, all you have to do is contact Vanessa. Vanessa F at alliancelasersales.com. She's also on LinkedIn. You can find her there. Vanessa Fiorito. I'm not going to spell it because I'll mess that up and you'll never find her. But if you go to the Alliance Specialties and Laser Sales page for LinkedIn, are you even on there? I think she's on there. If not, we'll have her build a profile and then she'll be on there and it'll be a thing. Or you can just let me know and I will tell her to reach out to you. It's very, very simple. So if you want to be on the show, do that. Please consider joining us for the Mold Making Molding Conference coming up in Minneapolis. And more than that, I know, I'm sorry. Come join us for the golf outing or support or send some, sponsor a hole, do something, right? There's no reason to not do anything. I know there's a lot of causes. I know there's a lot of things. I know there's a lot of charities. I know we're all super, super busy. But I'm asking you, join us, support us, help us to be difference makers. Because I said, please. I think that's enough. Besides that, I want to thank Mike for joining us. And I want to say thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Take care and God bless.